This is Do It For A Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance.
We have pounded into our heads that, you have to work really hard in order to be successful. You have to work hard all the time. And that's not the case. You have to work smart. And, what's interesting is I used to work really hard, like all the time, and worked every day. And the business really wasn't very successful at all. And now that I've cut my hours down and I don't seem to work as hard, the business is successful.
What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It For A Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now.
Welcome back. I've got Jack McGee with me from Jack's Transmission. He is a transmission builder out of Colorado Springs. Some people may be familiar with him, especially if you're in the Evo or GTR community. That's what I'm familiar with him from, for sending transmissions for Evos to him. But yeah, so Jack's he's been gracious enough to give some time for this interview with us, and it's actually been a hard time scheduling with him because you've been sick a lot lately, but I think we got all squared away now finally. And so Jack, how are you doing today?
I'm doing a lot better, thank you, and thanks for the patience and waiting for me. I mean, I'm honored to be on this. You have a lot of talent in your podcast, and to have me in here is great. I really appreciate it. It's awesome.
Awesome. And so I've actually been to your shop, Jackson. It's Colorado Springs is not like a huge city, but your business is probably built a lot off of shipping stuff. But we'll get all into that when we get into the business focused part of it. But why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself? How did you get started? What got you involved with cars and building transmissions?
Well, it actually started as far back as I can remember, like 5 years old. My father and I built like a hobbyist radio as part of this kit. We learned how resistors worked, capacitors, transistors, all of that stuff. Put that together, and that's what started my love for electronics. I mean, my first love was actually electronics. And, by the time I was 8 years old, I was repairing VCRs, video cassette recorders, It's something, back in the 80s that we had to rely on. It was a DVR of the 80s. So I don't know if anybody knows what a VCR is anymore, but, if you want to learn about, if you're a kid and you want to learn a little bit about mechanics and electronics, VCRs were awesome because half the unit was all mechanics and, the other half of the unit was all electronics. So, if you really dug into them and learned how they operated, you really got a huge step into both areas there, and both mechanical and electrical parts. So anyway, I wasn't very good at repairing them, but I was good at taking them apart and trying to figure out how they worked. I suffered. Well, I still suffer to this day from Asperger's a little bit. It's like a very mild autism disorder, and what it does is it basically makes me hyper-focused on certain things that I have interest in, and electronics and basically consumer electronics. I didn't want to do anything but just put my hands into that stuff. I absolutely loved it. I loved tearing complex electrical items apart, trying to figure out how they worked and try to figure out how to fix them. So when I was like 8 years old, I would collect various electronic items, take them apart, and try to learn how they operated. And anything that I got that was broken and I was able to fix, I would just sell it. But I didn't try to fix anything for anyone because, for the most part, it was just a learning experience. By the time I hit my mid-teens, I actually got pretty good at repairing them. But unfortunately, no one at the time wanted a kid to repair their broken TV, VCR, camcorder, or whatever. When it came to consumer electronics, people always didn't. They didn't trust a kid to do it. They didn't believe they could do it. So what I did was I actually set up relationships with various video stores in the area. Video stores back in the day, you rent a movie. It was on a VHS tape, and you play it on your VCR. And if your VCR broke, Well, what was convenient in this town was, they had a sign that said that they would repair them. And what was pretty slick about this is I would have, the video store advertise that they fixed them, and they would collect the, TVs, VCRs, camcorders, whatever, at their location. And twice a week, I would show up, pick everything up, and take off. So nobody ever saw who was actually fixing them. So as a teenage kid that was repairing this stuff, it actually got my foot in the door to get a lot of business without, people judging me as a kid. So that worked out really well. I would go down twice a week, and every time I'd show up at any of these video stores, there'd just be a pile of VCRs there ready to rebuild. And I'd have, I had a huge collection, basically a huge inventory of parts, of new and used parts. I get most units done within a day. It was a really good gig for a teenager. It was awesome.
Where was it based out of?
It was here in Colorado Springs.
Okay, so you grew up there then?
No. When I was about 15 years old, we moved to Colorado Springs. My father was in the military. I actually spent the first 15 years of my life in Europe. I was born in Madrid, Spain. Lived in Naples, Italy for a while. And then my dad got stationed back in Zaragoza, Spain. And then when he retired, we moved here to Colorado.
Okay.
So, so I was in my mid-teens. We moved to Colorado, and I was pretty determined to try to find a way to repair this stuff as a kid, because I thought it would be a nice way to make some money, and it actually worked out really well to strike a relationship with the video stores. So, and it was a good gig for them too. I charged $40 plus parts to fix any unit, and they would charge 60, 80, whatever on their end.
They would have to do nothing.
Yeah, and basically do nothing but just do the transaction there. So it was a pretty good deal for them, and my rework was very, very low. It was very rare that I had anything come back. So they after doing a few units and find that stuff actually worked, they had pretty good trust in me at that point. When I got into my late teens, I started to figure out that these VCRs were going down in price. They weren't as popular anymore. People were getting into DVDs and stuff like that, and electronics was getting a lot cheaper. So I could see that things are going downhill. A few of the video stores went out of business. I could see other consumer electronics repair shops going out of business. I was like, ooh. It was really hard for me to do because I had such success with it, but I just stopped. I just had to. I was like, I'm going to have to find something else to do. It's just not going to work. So I got away from that and then got myself a real job working for Quantum Corporation, which is the ideal job for the average person. Full benefits, excellent pay. The hours are really good. You can work overtime whenever you want. But I was bored out of my mind there.
What does Quantum do?
The facility I worked at, they built tape drives.
Okay.
So the old DLT tape drives, they had like 2,000, 4,000, I think it was like 7,500 or something. So they basically are backup devices.
Okay.
So they manufactured tape drives there, and basically I worked on the floor where all the assembly took place, and I worked in an area where we tested the units and tried to diagnose them if any of the tests failed and send them back or whatever. So it was really boring. It wasn't challenging at all. I'd like to dig into stuff and learn how it worked and re-engineer any flaws in it or whatever. And they didn't allow any of that. Their product had a lot of flaws at the time, and they didn't want to make any changes to it. Their engineering department wouldn't listen to anybody. So I worked there for about a year and just couldn't take it anymore, and finally left that place. For about a year after that, I just I made a lot of money with the VCR gig, so I had a lot of money saved up, and I just took a break for a little while, and I basically just goofed around for a little while, and didn't really do much, just did my own thing, and I just took my motorcycle apart and put it back together, learned how it worked, and the same with my car at the time, which was kind of funny. I owned a 1990 Ford Taurus SHO, a Yamaha V6. It was, for Ford, it was just a technological marvel. It was it was a pretty advanced car for something cheap that a kid could afford. So I took that all apart, learned everything I could about it. Same with the MTX trans, everything, put it back together, and shortly after that, I worked for another company called Volker Research, which was a Mac repair center, and and I actually liked that job. It was pretty challenging. I'm really bad with software, so that was very challenging for me to learn the software side of things when it came to computers. But I was very good at component level repair. So, my boss liked me there because a circuit board that would cost $180 to swap in a unit, I can actually repair that board for $10 worth of components, a transistor, resistor, and maybe a few caps or something to rebuild it, and maybe an hour of time, and he can turn around and sell that board for 180 instead of buying a new one for 150 costs and sell it for 180. So he did pretty good with me there, and I really enjoyed that job. I was there for 3.5 years, and I don't know. I just didn't feel like I don't know. I didn't feel like toward the end that it was something I really wanted to do for much longer. So I just it was a good place to work. To this day I think whether or not I should have left, but ended up leaving anyway. And at that point I owned a Mitsubishi Galant VR4. It was a 91, and I had, when I bought it, it had 60,000 miles on it, and on the drive home, the car was all stock, never touched. It was, this was a long time ago. It was back in the 90s, so you could find them that way, and it was just a really, really nice car, but it had 60,000 miles on the dot, and after I bought it and drove it home, the water pump started leaking, all the front engine seals leaked, and the clutch didn't feel good. At 60,000 miles, everything just started to come undone there in the time belt area. So it needed to be changed anyway. So I tore that car apart, and word got around that I rebuilt the trans in it, and a friend would drop off his trans out of his DSM, and I would go through it, and it just working out of my garage at home. That slowly, by just word of mouth, people started to bring things to me, and as I learned more about the platform, I got onto some enthusiast sites and just tried to help people at first. I didn't really want it to be a business, but more and more people started to drop things off, and my neighbors kept telling me, hey, you should open a business. And
what kind of time frame is this?
This was back probably my mid-20s.
Okay.
So that would have been late, maybe late. Yeah, I think late 90s.
Okay, so you never went to college then? You just graduated high school or whatever?
I did. Actually, no, I did. I did go to college for electrical engineering.
Okay.
But I didn't make it all the way through.
Okay.
I regret it to this day. I should have. But at the time, especially with the VCR business, I had a lot going for me. There was. It's really hard to do something like that when you have such a good gig going. You don't take it as seriously. And what I did at the time is I had such a good thing going with the VCR repair business, and then worked for Quantum Corporation. That was also really good pay. I didn't really have the kick in the butt needed to complete going to school for electrical engineering. So I went through about halfway through it and just stopped. I really wish I would have went through it. That's a major regret I have in life. So
back to the DSM and the Galant transmission. How did that kind of ramp up into Jack's Transmissions then? So
I didn't want to create a business out of it, but somehow it just started to turn that way. And so I went ahead and rented a 1,000 square foot unit and worked out of there. And then I would hire 1 or 2 people, and then we got too big for that area. And then I would go ahead and rent the 1,000 square foot unit next to that one, and then the 1,000 square foot unit next to that one, until I took over the whole area. And then like down the street, we found a building for sale that basically had everything we needed, and I felt I was throwing my money away renting. So I purchased the building, and we moved everything over there, and we've been at this building ever since. But the building is only 5,000 square feet. It's pretty small, but that actually forces us to be very efficient at what we're doing. We have a lot of products that we work on, so if we get to the point where we're too, we just can't fit any more things into this building, we'll look at the product that has the least profit to it and drop that one, and only keep the most profitable services and products. So, so the 5,000 square foot building actually helps keep us pretty efficient.
Okay.
And yeah. Okay. Sorry. Good.
No problem. So, you obviously have been an entrepreneur kind of your whole life, then, and do you consider yourself one?
Not anymore. No. When I was younger, yeah, I think so. But now, no. If I were to do it over again with what I know now, I would probably finish my engineering degree. And I know this is not what you guys want to hear.
No, it's what we want to hear.
And probably, I would have finished my engineering degree and probably just been an engineer. Worked for somebody else. Because at the beginning of this business, I did it wrong, and I feel that I've wasted probably 10 to 15 years of my life just basically kicking my own ass. And and if I would have just been smarter about it, I probably would have made a lot more money a lot quicker and a lot easier. At being an engineer than not, and just trying to build a business. And the way I built the business was incorrect. I didn't do it right.
Okay.
What I did in the beginning was, at first it was more like a hobby, like everyone else. It's a hobby. I was an enthusiast of the cars, and that's how I looked at it. I just worked on it on everything for fun. And then when things started to explode and become larger, one thing that I did is I did this with no debt. Like, I did not want to get any loans or anything, so I started very small and just slowly grew the business and moved forward from there. So as things progressed, I had the mentality, as most business owners do, that I was the only one that knew how to do everything. I was the one with the talent. If I hire somebody else, there's no way they'd be able to build a DSM trans like I do. They would never be able to detail the synchro, as finely as I do with the tools that we have. There's just no way that anyone else could do that. And and unfortunately, what I know now, and I didn't know back then, was, you hire someone, that's intelligent, that wants to work there, that's enthusiastic to be there. You pay them well and you treat them well. Anyone would want to do a good job. They'd want to learn. They would want to, continue to advance themselves as well. So what I've learned is, just get over yourself. Like, you're not the god behind the DSM trans. You can, it's not just you and no one else. You can train somebody else to do it. And what'll happen is, as a business owner, is if you train somebody else to do a product and basically be your clone, take your place, they'll love it. They'll make it their baby. They'll figure out their own ways of doing things more efficiently that you couldn't figure out. They'll find, since it's the only thing that they're working on, they're able to think about it and work on it all the time. As a business owner, if I'm doing DSM transmissions, 3000 GT transmissions, just everything that we do, if I'm doing all of it because no one else can do it, then I'm overworking myself and the quality isn't going to be there. If you have one person focusing on one product, they're going to get really good at it. And I have no shame in saying that right now, half the employees, I have 13 employees here, half of my employees here can build a DSM and EvoTrans far better than I can. It took a while for me to realize that, but that's all they do. I have one guy. All he does is the DSM transmissions. That's it. That's all he does.
All day, every day.
Yeah, all day, every day. And when I go back there and watch what he does, it's, I see a few things that have changed, and I see that they have more efficient ways now of putting the clusters together on the press, and they built these little platforms for the gears to sit on that makes everything just so much easier. It's like, geez, it's like, and I could never do that because I was focused on so many things. And I notice a lot of business owners are like that. And I've actually heard a few podcasts actually where people say that, yeah, nobody can do this but me. I'm the only one that can do, this part of the build or that part or whatever. And I found that actually, yeah, the average person can do it. The right training and, with enough practice, anyone can be good at anything.
And what's interesting is, going on this topic here, what we've found, and I've heard this before, is some of the people that are, and it's kind of probably more skewed towards people who aren't willing to do it, but people who learn that skill, like a lot of shop owners are afraid that if you train them that specialized, then they're going to go off and do it on their own. But I think in my experience, most of the people that do learn that specialty skill aren't really motivated enough to go do everything on their own. They don't want to have to take all the other baggage that comes with running a business.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The average person doesn't want to be the owner of a business, because you actually have to be kind of crazy in the head to start a business, because it just takes so much to do it. I mean, for the first 10 years of this business, I worked 15 plus hours a day, 7 days a week. It was absolutely awful. I just kept killing myself. I was in poor physical condition. I was not in good shape. I was always just beat. And a lot of people see that, and they don't want to do that. They want regular hours. They want to come in, do a job that they like, and go home and not worry about finances, not worry about talking with customers that are upset about something. It's just like, dealing with the business side of things sucks. And my brother was a partner with me in this business for quite a while, and he didn't like the business side of things. Eventually he got out of it. I bought him out, and he's much happier as a tech than he ever was as a business owner.
So he still work for you?
Yeah, he does. And we have another tech here, which he also had his own business, and he was doing quite well. But he couldn't take it anymore. He's like, look, I just want a regular job. I just want to work on this stuff. I don't want to deal with the business side. So I took him in, and he's an excellent tech. So it's to own a business, and I see it like on Facebook. There's a video going around where they showed all these billionaires talking about how they made their riches and how they got through tough times, and I can see the pain in their eyes and hear the pain in their voices. Like, they went through a lot to get there. I think it's very rare that people have a hugely successful business very, very easily. It takes a lot of work to get there. Mm-hmm. I think people are starting to know, the average person is starting to notice that, and it's just easier to work for someone else. I hate to say.
Yeah. And, so have you ever doubted yourself and, like, what if this doesn't work sort of attitude, and how did you overcome that feeling?
The only thing that creates any doubt is actually the engineering side. If we change something, like let's say in a GTR GR6 trans, if we change something, I'll have some doubt with that, because it's a pretty complex piece, and changing one thing could disrupt something else. And even if you test it, if I tested it in my own car for months and everything looks fine, if I decide to make it available to the public, it could be a totally different deal with the public. And there was actually one thing that we ran into where there's an end clutch plate for the clutches in the GR6. And what we found is if we made that end plate thinner, is the oil pump drive plate, if we made it thinner, we had more room in there to add more plates. And it was actually a very economical way to upgrade the clutch without having to spend a lot of money on a bigger carrier and all that stuff. And it worked great. It worked great over here on my car. We had a few customers try it, knowing that it was risky, and it worked fine for them. So we're like, okay, well, we're going to offer it to the public. And everything worked great for a few months, and then every single unit failed all at once at the same time. And basically all of last year, we were trying to clean up the mess. And that's what I worry about. Like something like that, where you have good intentions, where it could save the customer a lot of money on this modification. It used to cost a lot before that. We found this slick way to do it. It didn't work, and we didn't know until it was too late, and that was devastating. That cost us so much money. It hurt our reputation. It didn't really reach the web too much. Not too many people know about it, but that was a big hit for us. It really hurt. And what we found is by making the plate thinner, the pistons, the pressure from the pistons, which actually apply pressure to the plates, that plate actually has some thrust loading to it. And when we made it thinner, the thrust loading would actually bow the plate out and warp it. And when the plate would warp out far enough, the assembly would just come apart, and you just have a catastrophic failure. So we had to take care of a lot of people on that. That was a big hit for us. So, when you try to come up with innovative ways to change things, like that's what if it doesn't work? That hits me all the time now. After that last hit that we had, I'm very, very cautious about what we change in anything. And even if it works perfectly in my car and the fastest car that we know of, if he has it and it works fine, I still want to continue to test it. We have some amazing, like really cool stuff that we've been playing with for like the past year. I just haven't released it, and I'm just too afraid to do it.
So that having an expensive, not mistake, but I guess engineering lesson has kind of cast some doubt on whether or not it's ready to produce a product or not, or be public. So.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where we learn the hard way, and unfortunately, a major failure like that really, really scares you, into shape. Basically, like after something like that happens, you can't make a change to something and assume that everything's going to be okay, because anything like just things that you could not possibly imagine can go wrong. And
so is that the worst experience you've had in business, or is there something better than that?
That's probably the worst. That was a really big hit for us last year. I mean, the company brought in a few million last year. Everything was awesome, but those failures that we had, I think, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but we calculated it was around 130K in losses on that. So it cut into our bonuses and stuff at the end of last year. Like it really hurt us. And it was what hurts me more than that. Like the money really doesn't concern me so much. It's the confidence. We lost a lot of people because of that. We lost some vendors because they had more than one unit they purchased from us, and of course, all of those had the issue. We lost some really good customers. It's just. So it really hurts.
Did you pay those shops to pull the transmissions, or did you just rebuild the transmissions?
We did. When we got the call about the noise issue, we're like, oh no. So we, I paid both the shops and even individual customers that had the issue. I paid for the removal and install, the shipping, getting it fixed, but that still doesn't fix, the fact that they had a car that was down for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
They had to take it back in again. And that was a frustrating thing for the customers. It's not necessarily the costs, but the inconvenience.
But you're right or wrong, and when you're modifying a car, that's one of those things that most shops can't say.
Yeah, but they trust us though. They trust that what we offer is going to work, and when it doesn't work, it just I can understand why people would walk away from us over something like that. It's a lot of money here, and it especially if it's another shop, it makes them look bad. A customer comes back with something that broke where they recommended us, and it doesn't work anymore. That what are you going to do? I mean, when it comes to GT, the R35 GTR owners, they're very unforgiving for failure. It's not like the DSM world where they're pretty cool about it. With GTRs, if somebody has a failure, even if you take care of everything, it's usually not good enough. They don't like it, and they'll go with somebody else. So.
Until they have a problem there, because there's not a lot of places you can go, right?
Yeah, there isn't, and I've had that happen where they had a problem with us. We especially with this last failure we had, this just epidemic we had. I went as far as refunding people everything. I take their trans back, put their OEM parts back in, and give them a full refund of their money and pay the labor to remove and install it and everything. Like I really try to go above and beyond for them, and then they get a transfer from someone else, and then they have problems immediately with that one. So I don't know how things work. The second time around with another vendor, I think your options are getting pretty thin at that point. They might be more forgiving if the second person has issues too.
They're going to come back on their knees. Please help me.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to happen too often. But things like that. When you try to re-engineer something, it can do that. And luckily, we have UCCS is right next to us over here, which is mostly an engineering college. And I actually hired a mechanical engineer from there who works here, who's just absolutely brilliant. And it's nice to have someone else, another set of eyes on these ideas we have to take another look at it. So now with the both of us working together on it, it's not just one person coming out with an idea like, oh, this should work. We have another person here that can scrutinize it a little bit and tell me, hey, there might be a problem with this end of it if you modify this end.
So what's something you're doing right now that has you fired up?
This is totally lame, but it has to do with the efficiency of the shop. I'm like really excited about it. We made some major changes to this place the past few years, and now I have one person, one of my 13 employees here. All he does is he crunches numbers. That's all he does all day long, and it's a full-time position. He has his own office here, and what we do is we used to use basically just a sheet of paper with project codes, but now we actually use MSA, My Shop Assist, for it. We kind of hacked it up and modified it a little bit to work with our system. But what we do right now is we have what are called direct projects and indirect projects. And direct projects are those projects where the tech is working on something for a customer, like a car build, a trans build, whatever. Indirect project is the necessary things that need to run for the business to operate, like phone calls, emails, cleaning the floors, things like that, where it's not something that's making us money, but it's a necessary evil to keep the shop moving. And what we're doing is using MSA, we're tracking every single person here on everything that they do, from basically pushing a car in and out of shop to working on a customer's car and exactly what they're working on in a customer's car. And what my employee does is he takes all of that information every week, puts it all together, and we know exactly what each employee is doing and how much time they're spending on direct stuff, indirect stuff, see if there's maybe a problem with efficiency. And what we found is, they're like our techs in the back who, they don't take care of any emails, calls. They don't do any indirect stuff other than maybe sweeping the floor or pushing a car in and out, very little indirect, but it's mostly direct. My main techs back there, we're looking for 80% direct or more. And what we found is like a lot of those employees back there, which, should be working on something all the time, are around 50, 60% direct. And, what we noticed is the little things were killing efficiency. Like, for example, my DSM tech was putting a DSM trans together, and then he finds he's missing a 32 millimeter socket that he needed. He'll stop what he's doing, walk across the shop over to the other tech that usually has that socket, ask him if he's had it, and he says, oh, no, I don't have it. So then the both of them stop what they're doing. They walk over to a third tech who has the socket, grab it from him, and then maybe they might chit-chat for a little bit, and then they go back to work, and he has the socket he needs, and this happens every time he puts a unit together. So something like that takes not only one tech out of work, but three of them, and that adds up really fast.
Yeah.
3 techs taking 15, 20 minutes out of their work. I mean, that's almost an hour worth of lost labor there. That's just gone.
Yeah, the reference that I always liked was when I was at Lockheed, we'd do like a weekly meeting with our team, and so there'd be 18 engineers sitting in a room for an hour. And you think about it, it's like that's 18 hours of engineering time, and most of it was, talking about like what we were doing, outside of work. That's like an engineer's bill I'm sure they bill at $200 an hour to the government, probably more. And, that's just, it's crazy. That's like $3,600 for an hour meeting.
It's huge. And what we do is we, at the end of every month, we have financial meetings where, the people that I have as managers around here to help me with the load when it comes to, dealing with the employees and stuff. We all get together in the office. We spend about an hour every month where we sit down, and it's just like honestly, it's pages of data that we go through to try to figure out where these inefficiencies are. And this year, we found that what we call the direct labor ratio needs to be 35% for us to break even. So if our direct labor ratio is 35%, we broke even, we didn't make any money, but we're able to live. We're paying ourselves, we're paying to keep the lights on. The business is stable. So that was our ratio. And what we want to do is we want to be above that, because anytime we're above that direct labor ratio, we're actually making money, and more money means we could buy more equipment and, expand the business. So, so these financial meetings that we would have, we'd watch each employee and what they're doing. And if somebody didn't make their 80%, I try to treat each employee like the transportation safety board would like. You know how the TSA would come along if there's like a plane crash, and they always say that there's a series of events that would cause a plane crash. It's not just one thing.
Uh-huh.
That's how we treat failures here. If an employee is not hitting his labor ratio, which we found a direct employee should be doing 80%, if he's hitting like 70%, I don't blame the employee. I don't go back there and be like, hey, you need to get back to work. You're goofing off or something. Something's wrong. I don't do that. There's something broken about the system, which is not making him keep his labor ratio. So what we'll do is, as far as the individual labor ratios are concerned, I look at it every week, and at the end of the week, if somebody didn't hit their labor ratio, I'll have them come in my office, and it's not a punishment thing. It's nothing where I'm going to yell at them or anything. It's basically just trying to get data from the employee, like why didn't you hit your labor ratio? And he'll say something like, oh, I had to find the socket this day. And this other day we were out of parts, so I had to put this unit away and then grab another unit. There's a lot of inefficiency that created that that low indirect labor ratio. So basically, what we'll do is we'll come up with solutions. I work with the employees to come up with solutions to make the job more efficient. Because the more efficient the job is, the easier it'll be for the employee as well. Mm-hmm. So if he's not running around the shop for 30 minutes looking for a socket. If he has a socket right in front of him that he can grab and finish it, that's, they would prefer that, I mean, it's frustrating to have to find, the tools or parts that you need because they're not there. So, by looking at this labor ratio and being really cool with the employees about it, not playing the blame game or anything, because I know everyone here wants to do a good job. I know they want the businesses to be successful. We just try to find where these holes are that are causing inefficiencies in this company, and that I'm really excited about that because it's made a huge difference. Little things like that you wouldn't think would cause any issues is it's making a major change, and turning this company around into something that's truly profitable. I mean, we bring a lot of money in here. We bring in millions of dollars into Jack's Transmissions, but we also have a lot of expenses. Mm-hmm. So, the money that comes in goes right back out. And at the end of the day, how much did you actually make? I mean, we all make a good living. Breaking even is one thing, but actually making really good money to buy, awesome equipment and really, take this business to the next level is, it's really important to make sure that the business is operating efficiently first.
Right. Yeah. And, if you keep expanding out with an inefficient business, it's never going to be as effective as a small, very efficient operation. So. Oh,
absolutely, yeah, and and we're actually pretty small, for the number of people we have, and the number of products that we work through here, especially the car builds that we do. I mean, we just have between 15 to 20 GTRs here at a time, and it's a small shop, so it's focusing on efficiency helps a lot, and having too much come in actually kills efficiency as well because people. Tend to get a little overworked. We get, instead of focusing on one project, we'll go from one to the other, to try to complete, 2 or 3, that are overdue to be complete instead of focusing on the one. And, going back and forth between cars, you lose time. So it's really important to look at these numbers. And, I got to tell you that, the MSA thing works really, really well for us, along with QuickBooks. I mean, absolutely, we know. Using this data, we know what every employee actually has to make every hour. And if they don't make that money every hour, we need to figure out why. We know what the minimum is, so we're hoping that they're making a minimum or more on average. And,
yep. So Jack said it. The My Shop Assist thing is very important for the shop, and so let's take a second to share some information about it. Before we continue on, I wanted to take a second and tell everyone about My Shop Assist. If you own or work for a performance shop of any type, such as installation shops, tuning, engine, transmission, or even custom fabrication, take some time and think about how organized and efficient your operation is. Our goal at Do It for a Living is to tell success stories on the industry and educate you, the listener, on how to be successful in your business. My Shop Assist was developed for this very reason and helps to address many of the most common shortcomings at shops. With My Shop Assist being cloud-based, you have access to your data from anywhere. You will have a built-in calendar, track tasks and parts on every job you have, track time, document your work with notes and pictures, as well as files such as tuning files and data logs. Individualized task lists for texts and reports to measure their efficiency. Jobs can be exported to QuickBooks for accounting. So MSA was designed to be simple to use and will help anyone from a one-man shop up to the top-performing shops in our industry. Check out the system for free at www.myshopassist.com. Okay, so moving on, I want to talk more about your business here, Jack. So you already mentioned it. You own the building you're in, and you said it's roughly 5,000 square feet?
Yeah, it's pretty tiny.
Okay, and you've obviously optimized it to work efficiently, and you even mentioned that you're looking at the numbers of the different products you develop, so you're kind of treating it more like a manufacturing facility than just a service shop, right? So you can look at an individual product, and if it's not profitable enough, you can drop it and pick up something more profitable. Is that kind of what you're looking at?
There's service, manufacturing, engineering, and part sales. Right now, service is still the main thing here. We have a lot of car builds that come through, but honestly, I want to get away from the cars and focus on engineering, manufacturing, which will then increase our parts sales. I really like engineering. I mean, that's where my passion is. I love to reverse engineer a complex device, come up with better parts for it, and basically find a way to manufacture those parts and then sell them to the public so people can benefit from what we learned. That's what I'd really like to do. I know that the car thing is always going to be there here. I can't let it go completely. And the cars are a lot of fun. I really like working on the cars. I like looking at the end result on a lot of these builds. It really is awesome. But at the end of the day, I'm getting too old to work on cars anymore, and I just want to change the business in a way where it'll run more of itself, where I don't need to interact with it so much. Mm-hmm. And I think that from what I've seen, at least through other businesses with their success, is part sales. Manufacturing and part sales are where the money is. Yeah. Working on the cars is never going to be terribly profitable unless you're working on these big builds where people write you $100,000-$200,000 check or something. But even those I don't want. They're just too much of a headache. I just want to work on something. I just want to build something where it's built, it's reliable, it's a part that I don't have to deal with after it's made. The customer, either a vendor or a customer will buy it, they'll install it, it'll work, done. I don't have to deal with a warranty on a whole car where we did the engine, trans, all of that stuff, where there's a lot of liability involved. Just making parts seems to be the way to go. And one thing that's actually really nice right now is, it's actually a game-changing product. Are these mini CNC machines that you find now? You can get them for less than $10,000. On an engineering side of things, that is awesome, because you can actually make a prototype part, test fitment, make sure that it works before you go to maybe a larger manufacturer to pump out 100 or 1,000 of them. So instead of having a prototype built by some other manufacturing company, which is terribly expensive, you can make the prototype in-house for pretty cheap, make sure that everything is good to go on that end, and then have the big guys, pump out 100 or 1,000 of them using their, millions of dollars worth of equipment.
What percentage of your sales right now are people shipping you transmissions versus bringing you cars?
I would say probably 80% are the transmission, and we do engines too. We don't really advertise it, but transmission and engine work, and the cars are probably 20% of it.
Okay, so a relatively small percentage then.
It is, yeah. But each car build is a lot of money, all at once. I mean, we may not be making a lot on it, but the average build is around $30,000 for a car where you're building the engine, you're building the trans, you're putting exhaust on it, all the full bolt-on stuff, a decent set of turbos on it. It normally averages around $30,000 for that. So that's a large chunk of money that comes in and out. So it's necessary to do that stuff right now because it's money that's moving that keeps us going. So even though we don't make much on each car, even if it's a break-even deal, one thing to remember is breaking even means that paying yourself, paying to keep the lights on and everything is taken care of.
Yeah.
Breaking even means that everything gets to run as it is right now.
It's better than nothing at all where you're not paying your rent.
or a loss. Yeah, what we found is in the past, a lot of people complained about it. We let our stage 1 Evo, 5-speed transmission builds go. We don't have them up there anymore. And what we found using, crunching these numbers is every single stage 1, $900 Evo 8 Trans that we sent out of here was a $200 to $300 loss. It was crazy. Like, if you think that you're working really hard, you got a lot going on, but you're not making any money, and you wonder why, you got to look at the numbers. You got to look at how many hours you're spending on it, what you're worth every hour, and look at the true cost of the parts going into it. And it was scary. Like we couldn't believe it. For years we were building stage 1, Evo transmissions, and every single one of them cost us at least $200 out the door. So yeah, it's really important to follow the numbers.
Have you ever written a formal business plan?
Yeah, we have. We have a 5-year plan. Actually, my father-in-law helped us with it quite a bit. Actually, he's helping us a lot with a lot of this financial stuff. He helped me with the plan, put it together, because he was president and CEO of a company that employed hundreds of people. So he knows quite a bit about coming up with plans that would be effective. And we came up with a 5-year plan. We started it at the beginning of this year, and so far we're actually spot on with the plan. Everything's going together.
Very cool. So it's a fairly recent plan, but obviously you're able to, if even we're like 6 months into it, a half a year into it, and you're still on target. That's good.
Yeah, everything's looking really good, and our direct and indirect percentage too. We kind of fell a little bit at the beginning of the year, but now our target that we want to reach by the end of the year, we're creeping up to it, and it's awesome.
Cool. And you said you had 13 employees. Can you kind of break down like what they do and their roles?
Oh, sure. I have one person who just basically crunches the numbers. I have another one who answers the phones. He's also full time. I have a part-time employee who does shipping receiving. I have a full-time engineer. I have 3 car techs. I have transmission tech. He's also the manager for the shop area. How many is that? Sorry, I haven't been counting. And also have basically the rest of them are just transmission techs.
Okay.
That's it.
So a bunch of like a GTR guy, an Evo guy, a DSM guy, or whatever else you work on, huh?
Yeah, one guy is an Evo guy. The other 2 guys are GTR guys on the car side. So. Okay.
And then you're managing them through MSA, and then it sounded like you had a shop manager as well. Is there anything else you do? Like, what was it like, looking into all this efficiency work? What were you doing then, and how has it changed to what you're doing now?
I was killing myself. It was absolutely awful. I was doing it all wrong. I do what a lot of people do when they're enthusiasts and they try to run a business like this, is they think they can do everything. I worked 7 days a week, 15 hours a day for many, many years. I worked hard, but not smart. It got to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to change something. What happens with a lot of these shops, and I notice they go through the same thing where they work really hard like that, and they're barely able to make it every month. That eventually something's going to give. Either your health is going to go away, you're just going to burn out. You're not going to love it anymore. Something has to change. So, what I did on my end, because I got to the point where either I had to make a major change or I was just going to shut the doors and do something else. Because I've had offers from people to work for them, in engineering, ironically enough, even though I didn't go through engineering school. I didn't get my electrical engineering degree. where I'd start at like $80K a year and work my way up from there. Like it'd be a really good job. So, I had that going for me as well. So I had to pick between the two, whether, I'm too burned out to keep doing it or change a company. And, considering how far the company made it, it was really hard for me to let go. It took so much work to get it to where it is, that I decided, I was like, okay, we're just going to have to make this change. We've got to make this company work more efficiently. It can't be a hobby anymore. And, the environment here, even with the employees was very laid back. We just did what we want because we're all enthusiasts. We're all car enthusiasts. We're not business people. So, a major step for me with this business was getting away from killing myself and basically hiring a person to go through the numbers. I couldn't do it. Like, when it comes to taxes and stuff, I'm not good at it. So why should I have that another burden on something that I have to do every day? Why make it another 15-hour day? So I hired somebody else to do that. And, now using, MSA, crunching the numbers, doing this direct and indirect thing, and, the stuff that's not fun, that's not for enthusiasts, completely turned this place around. The first year that I was in business, I made, the company pulled in $30,000 that year. That was it. And that's just unbelievable. I look at that now, I'm like, wow, that is absolutely awful. Because I was just operating as an enthusiast. Most people that came down, I just do something for free.
And you were probably pumped about it too, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was, it was a lot of fun back then, but you slowly start to wear down. And
are you doing any advertising or marketing? And what is like the most successful method you're using to promote the business?
For a while I was active on EvoM and some of the DSM forums, but it just got so terribly busy here that I just don't have the time anymore to post on the forums. I'm hoping with the changes that I've made here these past few years, if things continue to basically just take the burden off me, if I have more people doing more of my job, I'm hoping that I'll have more time to spend to actually get back to what I actually enjoy doing, getting online and helping people and engineering stuff. So, okay. Yeah, that's about it.
So how many hours a week are you doing right now?
Right now, we've changed our schedule. It used to be like 7 days a week for me, but after I met my wife, I knocked it down to 5 days a week, but it was still very long hours. And you've got to live life. Working all the time is just not healthy. It's not good. So I knocked it down to we work 4/10s now, and we have a 3-day weekend because with me, even though we have 4/10s, everybody else works 4/10s. I always work, 12 to 15 hours a day usually. So, so this way, by forcing myself to only work 4 days a week, even if I decide to kick my own ass at work and work a really, really late hour, there's only a few days of it, and I can actually enjoy the weekend with my wife and daughter and not, and just basically recoup from it.
Okay, so you're doing 4 days a week, and you're still getting in 40 to 60 hours though.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And one thing that kind of scared me into doing that is, there are quite a few people around here that have shut their doors. Other shops have shut their doors and we're selling everything off. And they come to me and they ask me if I want to buy any of their benches and stuff, and I actually buy a lot of stuff from people in that situation. But what's interesting is I've run into quite a few people that are like in their 60s, and they've been in the automotive world, since they were kids. And they're completely burned out, and they're forced to sell everything because they're dying. They have cancer. They've worked so hard their whole life, and worked around chemicals and just basically killed themselves. They've worked themselves to death, and they didn't get a chance to really, from what I've gathered of them anyway. I mean, I didn't know them personally, but from what I've seen, they didn't really get a chance to stop and enjoy life. They worked all the time. They basically worked until they died. And that really scared me. I don't want that to happen. My personal goals with this business is I'm going to turn 40 this year, and I'm hoping by my mid-40s that this business will
cruise
be
control
doing so well that, it'll run itself.
Yep.
And, it'll need very little interaction from me. and I can actually I paid my dues. I would like to enjoy life a little bit before it's too late. And it's really scary. Like the person I bought this building off of, he hung on to this building, he hung on to the business and everything until he was at over 90 years old, and until the doctor gave him like a time on when he was actually going to die, like he knew when he was going to die, is when he finally sold the business, sold the building. Uh-huh. It's just, I mean, that's not something I want to do. Like, I understand that, it took a lot of work to build the business, and, it's something that was a passion, but you got to learn to let it go and just enjoy life. It's not worth it.
So you have is it a 1 or 2 year old baby?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, she's going to turn 2 years next month.
Okay. And you have obviously adapted your schedule to spend more time with the family. So having a family is important to you, and you're not just spending all your time at work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now it is. Yeah, it's changed me quite a bit.
Wait till they get a little older and interact more with you, too.
Oh, yeah. I enjoy spending time with my daughter and my wife, like, a lot. I really cherish the time I have with them, on Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays that I have off. And Saturdays is usually a recoup day for me. I'm pretty slow to get back on my feet after working such long hours at the shop during the week. But it's I like it a lot. I mean, I really enjoy spending time with my family, and that's changed me a lot too into why I'm making changes with the business as well. And before, when I was single, I didn't really care too much about my health or working too hard or toward the future or anything. I just cared about having fun with my hobby. But now that I have a family, I really got to watch out for them, because if I literally work myself to death with this business, then people that rely on me are going to lose somebody that can take care of the situation. So
does the pay justify the time spent?
Now it does, yes. Now that we've the past few years have turned everything around and used use what we've learned to make the business efficient and make money, yeah, it's definitely worth it. But like the 10 years before that, no, it wasn't. I just stuck with it because I don't know. It
was your baby, and you wanted it to work.
That's true. There's a lot of love that goes into this, and I mean.
That's what a lot of shops struggle with, is if you just keep putting a lot of hours in it but don't change the way you operate it, it's never gonna be, you're never gonna get away from the problem you're in now, which is, like a lot of shops don't make enough money to really leave the business or even step away from it for like a day or two. And if they keep doing just long hours and not making themselves more efficient, then you're never going to get to the point where you can take a vacation. And that sounds like you have taken those steps, and now you're able to get away, and your shop is productive and efficient and profitable, huh?
Oh, yes. And, and honestly, I still don't take vacations, and my wife still thinks I work way too hard. But, it's a slow process to break away from that, because you basically learn to operate that way. We have I see it on Facebook a lot, on social media a lot, where, we have pounded into our heads that, you have to work really hard in order to be successful. You have to work hard all the time. And that's not the case. You have to work smart. And, what's interesting is I used to work really hard, like all the time, and worked every day, just insane hours. And the business really wasn't very successful at all. And now that I've cut my hours down and I don't seem to work as hard, the business is hugely successful. So that that thing that our parents pounded in our heads when we were young, that you got to work hard to be successful, I don't agree with that anymore. I think working hard is a noble thing. Working hard to get your business off the ground and get started is definitely necessary. But if after a few years you're still working really, really hard and nothing is changing, you're doing something wrong. So you shouldn't have to work that hard with the business all of the time. At least not that I've seen anyway. Once you get employees under your belt and you have the power to use them, and your business is more stable financially, things should get easier. It shouldn't get harder.
Right. So you're using MSA and you said QuickBooks, and it sounded like you have shop managers. Anything else that you're using to manage the business?
Not really. It's just no. QuickBooks and MSA seem to do all of it. QuickBooks gives us a real. When we put the data in QuickBooks, we get these nice charts, and it's a little bit easier to read all of the data using QuickBooks after we're done with MSA. But MSA is definitely a valuable tool because it makes it a lot easier for employees to be basically accountable for what they're doing, and that data is just priceless. Okay,
and you said earlier on, and it may have been even before we started recording this, that you have something that you're doing differently that other shops, whatever you're doing makes you successful that other shops might not have even thought about. What were you talking about?
Yeah, it just basically had to do with treating the business as a business. I see a lot of, especially in the automotive field, I see a lot of mechanics out there where they start their own business and, they barely make it every month. They work really hard, they work long hours, but they just barely scrape by. They can barely pay the rent every month. It's just like, and no matter how hard they work, it just doesn't get any better. They continue, to just basically exist. In order to change that, you have to get over yourself. Like, you don't have to do everything. If you do everything, you're creating inefficiency already. If you're overworked, you're doing the books. You're talking to customers. You're taking care of the phone calls and emails. You're fixing the car. It's too much. And if you're doing that much, you rush through things because you just can't keep up. No human can. And quality goes down, and things just get even harder and harder because then people get upset. You have to take care of warranty issues, blah blah blah. So, a valuable thing that I discovered is, it's you think that only you can do this. Like I thought that I'm the only one that could rebuild DSM transmissions. I'm the only one that could detail the synchros. Well, you know what? It doesn't really work that way. A lot of people out there, if you hire a good person, they want to succeed. They want to do good work. They want to succeed. They want to see the company successful. A lot of people can have the same passion you do about what you're working on. They'll actually do it better than you will, because when you're overworked and you're doing so many things at the same time, there's no way that you can focus like somebody who does the same thing every day, all day long. They're going to get better at it than you. It's something that you're going to have to come to terms with. If you hire someone to do something that you thought only you can do, you're going to find that they can actually do it better if you give them a chance with it. And I feel that way. Like, half the people in this shop can actually rebuild DSM and Evo transmissions. And those guys are far better at building those things than I am. And it's really hard for me to admit that, but you don't want me to touch your Evo transmission. It's gotten to the point now where they know more about, how to detail the parts that work, better than I ever did. They know what parts fit better. They know what modifications need to be made for the unit to live longer that I never knew back in the day. So, they're just better at it now, and you just got to trust people. You got to bring people in, and give them a chance. And I've noticed that, back a long time ago when I used to be really stubborn and I thought I was the only one that could do everything, the employees I had at that time, I lost quite a few really good people that I think had a lot of heart into the company. They really wanted the company to succeed, but I went about it the wrong way. I was like, look, only I can do the synchro detailing. You got to wait for me if I'm going to do that. And I got to double check the gear cluster when you put it together. I really had no trust or faith into the people that worked for me.
Well, we've just talked about how you're handling your business. So I want to tell our listeners about the class that we put together with EFI University, which can enable you as a listener to, manage your shop better. EFI University is hosting a new class called Essentials of Operating a Shop. If you're interested in learning how to run your shop more efficiently, this class is for you. For details and to find a class near you, go to EFI101.com and look for the Essentials of Operating a Shop class. Our next class is being held in Denver, Colorado on July 16th, followed by Charlotte, North Carolina on July 23rd. Be sure to use the coupon code DIFAL for $50 off when you sign up. Let's move on, Jack. Let's talk about something that you struggle with in business, and how do you deal with it?
Well, my struggle is I continue to have that force in my mind that only I can do certain things, and that's not true. Whatever it is that I'm doing, I need to find someone that can also do that. So if I can find a replacement for someone, find a replacement for myself, basically for what I'm doing, then that would be awesome. That's how I believe that I can progress. I want to get into other platforms and engineer parts for basically other platforms that need help. But in order for me to have time to do that, I need to continue to bring people in to take my place with what I'm doing now. Because what I'm doing now is already, it's got a foundation. It works. We know it's, we know we're like engine builds are a good example. I'm the only one that does the short block builds here. That's it. Nobody else touches that. And that takes a large part of my time. So I need to find someone that I can train for a few months and trust with the engine builds that they're going to, put their heart into it and love it as much as I do, and put the detail into it that needs to be done to do that part of it. So that big chunk of my time comes back to me, and I can focus on another platform.
So you basically just need to put you already have the systems in place, but you just need to make a system for that person to come in and like the work documentation and the process for building the engine that you use. Just have them follow that exact process, and they can basically take that whole chunk of your work off your plate.
Oh, absolutely. And what we've done here is we've come up with process sheets. So unfortunately, with the engine stuff, since I'm the only one that does it, and I never have time for anything, I don't have a process sheet for how to build an engine here our way at Jack's Transmissions. But other things like everything from the GR6 to a DSM Trans, we have basically a book we wrote for the company with detailed pictures, descriptions, and everything, how to do everything, our way on the transmission. So if someone is out sick, if let's say the DSM Trans guy is out sick, and we've got, or out on vacation or whatever, and the Evo guy wants to get in and do a few DSM transmissions,
he can just look at the book,
show everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
that's extremely valuable. And it may have taken a bunch of time to do it, but now that you've done it, and you look forward as if that guy does leave, the next guy who takes in and takes over can and basically replicate the same work.
Oh, absolutely. And another embarrassing incident was, we started to have quality control issues with our GR6 GTR transmissions. I mean, it's a complex unit. So what we found is every once in a while somebody will leave maybe a connector disconnected. Even though we run it on our machine that we have here, somehow it'd still pass. Or, they'll leave the clips in these locating clips in the pistons so they couldn't move or something. Just these stupid mistakes. And what's really nice about the process sheet is if something happens with quality control, we treat basically we treat the system like maintenance at an like an aircraft mechanic would treat servicing an aircraft. We set everything up where if there's a quality control issue with any of these products, they have to have the process sheet in front of them and on the page of whatever it is that they're working on, and follow it step by step. If somebody ends up leaving or is sick or whatever, and we need help on getting back on that product, but it also helps with quality control, because if something's happened where for some reason somebody's not following direction and needs help to get back on track again, all they have to do is just basically follow the process sheet until the quality goes back up. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Absolutely, it does. So you said you have a business plan, and you said it goes out to 5 years. Can you kind of give us an idea of what your this year's your 1 year plan is for yourself and for the business?
Well, right now it's efficiency. This year is mostly about efficiency, and the other part of the business plan is to essentially sort the car builds. What we've noticed is the big car builds don't make us any money. We'd be lucky if we break even. We usually lose money on them. The smaller car builds, basically the full bolt-ons with the smaller turbos, they actually seem to be pretty profitable. So we're focusing a lot of attention on the cars to figure out if it's worth it to do certain builds or not. And the other part is the direct and indirect ratios. Making sure that people's direct ratio labor goals are met and are done in a way where everything's efficient and it makes the job easier for the employee. And our overall ratio, direct labor ratio is exactly where it needs to be. Our goal is to get up. It sounds like a very, very small percentage, but our goal, 35% is break even. 37% is actually very, very profitable. It doesn't sound like it's a lot, but with as much that comes in and out of here, 2% is a huge, huge change. And it'll allow us to buy, basically pay cash for a lot of new equipment, to essentially get into the engineering side of things. And then, the next years after that, we'll focus more on, parts development, parts sales, engineering, things like that. So if this year goes well and we hit our goals for our plan, we should have quite a bit of money set aside for some pretty cool equipment to basically try to turn things around to a more profitable product.
Okay. And so does that kind of bring us into the 5-year plan? You're wanting to buy more expensive equipment that will let you do more product development is kind of what it sounded like? Yeah,
basically we want parts sales to be our primary breadwinner here. We still want to work on cars because, we have to have some fun here. Cars are a lot of fun to work on. They're just not necessarily great for business. So, we want to kind of get away from the cars a bit more and not have so many of those and focus more on just parts sales. I really think that parts sales could be a huge benefit as far as profitability of a business is concerned.
Okay. We like to take action on Do It for a Living. Can you suggest an action item our listeners can take away to improve their situation?
Yeah, the action item that I have for people that are listening is just that thing where I know it's really hard to do. I hope nobody takes offense over it, but it's that getting over yourself thing. You don't have to do everything. You're not the only one that could do everything. If you get past that and trust that others can actually do what you do, life will get a lot easier, and your business can actually become very profitable. So, yeah, that's my.
Okay, let's move on to the quick answer questions here. And you already said the first one, but maybe you have something different written down. But what's a game-changing product you've seen in the last year?
It's those little mini CNC machines. They make it very affordable for people who want to essentially redesign and make parts for something. They make it very affordable to come out with that prototype part and basically play with stuff, in-house without having to pay someone else a lot of money to make the prototype for you. You basically can use those little machines to come up with a product that fits, that has been through testing, that can work before, if you don't have the big equipment, before you either use the big equipment or you have an actual CNC shop make it for you.
They just make small metal parts, or are you talking like plastic CNC, or what are you, just like small as in like 2 feet by 2 feet?
Oh, no, the technology in those things are amazing. There's quite a few machines. If you spend some money on them, I think for around $7K, you can get a machine that can actually cut steel. So yeah, you can get like a CNC milling machine.
Basically like a Bridgeport, but with CNC functionality to it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really tiny. It's like a desktop thing.
Oh, okay.
So,
really small.
So you only be able to do smaller parts with it, but that's perfect for us because that's all we do anyway. But yeah, those things are, it's incredible how cheap they are, and I think that opens the door for a lot of people to be very creative in making new parts that before would have been too expensive to even try to manufacture just a prototype of.
Okay. So we're going to beat a dead horse here, but what software are you using daily?
Both QuickBooks and MSA. Probably, the employees use MSA more than the managers and I do, but QuickBooks seem to be something that I use more than MSA, actually.
And what's your favorite app that you use daily?
My phone sucks, so I couldn't use an app if I could. I don't know. That's one of the things that people are aggravated with about me is I have a very, very cheap cell phone, so I don't use any apps. It kind of keeps me away from things when I'm away from work. If I had a phone that can do stuff for the business, I would be caught up with the business even on the weekends at home, and I try to stay away from that.
Okay, so you're not on Facebook very often or ever?
I am, but I try to stay away from it on the weekend. Yeah, well, no, my phone can do that, but I just try to stay away from apps. I don't think it's a good use of my time.
Okay.
So, sorry.
What's your favorite shop tool?
This is really stupid because it's not really a tool, I guess, but it's my computer. Okay. bringing in business through, just chatting on the forums and taking in emails, and even when it comes to product design, the computer is such a valuable tool for stuff like that. I mean, this business wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the computer.
Okay.
So,
and what are you driving right now?
my daily driver is a 2013 GTR.
Okay, so you're one of the very few people that drives what you work on.
Yeah. No, well, when I used to work for Volker Research and work on Macs, I hated Macs because every Mac I'd seen was broken. So I owned a PC when I was at home. I thought I'd feel the same way about the car stuff, but no. I mean, the cars that we work on, I love them. Like, even though most of the cars I work on are broken and they're kind of a pain in the ass, driving one every day is just awesome.
Okay, so let's close this thing out here. What do you think the future of automotive performance is going to be?
This is going to upset a lot of car people, but I think it's electric cars. I'm actually pretty excited for that new Tesla Model 3. I'm thinking about buying one.
Me too.
I want to dig into that thing. Yeah, it's got so much energy stored into it that you could use. It just looks like something that you could make so much power on. I mean, Tesla from the factory with their ludicrous launch mode that they have, a factory warranted car that accelerates like that, it's just amazing. That they're holding back a little bit, for reliability because they have to cover it under warranty. So there's a lot of potential there that you could use on those things. And I know people think it's lame, but I think in short time here people are going to realize that
they can be modified too.
Yeah, they could be pretty cool. And we're really lucky. UCCS down the street from us, there's actually a professor there that helped design. I think he helped design the Panasonic batteries that Tesla uses on a lot of their cars. So we have a lot of talent near us that could actually help us with the electronics on those cars. That guy's pretty open to help people out with various things. So I mean, it's Colorado Springs is actually a pretty big engineering town. So, with the assets that we have around us here, I wouldn't be afraid to dive into a Tesla. I know people are probably just cringing hearing that, like, oh my God, how can you do that?
I want to do it too.
But it's actually a pretty amazing car.
And how do we connect with you and your company?
It's right now, since I'm not on the forums or anything, it's best just to either give us a call or email us. Since I only have one or two guys taking care of the calls, we're pretty overloaded when it comes to calls usually. If you call us and we're not picking up, it's probably because all the lines are busy. Just please leave us a message. That's really important. Either send us an email message or leave us a phone message, and we'll get back to you pretty quickly. With a small business like this, sometimes the calls that come in can be pretty overwhelming. So just give us a chance with the either phone or email. Don't be afraid to leave a message.
And what's your webpage?
It's www.jackstransmissions.com.
Okay.
So it's transmissions with an S.
Gotcha. So, Jack, I really wanted to thank you for taking some time to talk with us.
Oh, sure. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm honored to be here. I hope that what I talked about made sense and doesn't offend anyone. Like I said, this business was a lot like what many automotive businesses are like in the beginning, and we really turned this place around, and we actually do pretty good financially here. So I'm hoping that some of the little bit of details I gave here can actually help someone in maybe turning things around and making their business a little bit less hectic.
Definitely.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website, doitforaliving.net. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone.